Hey guys, happy spring. It is the end of March, so you know what time it is. It is time to talk about all of the lovely books I read this month. The beginning of the month, I was a little slow, I was dragging on some of my books and I was like, oh, I'm gonna read like 2 books this month, which is totally fine. But then, like, the last week and a half of March, I was like obsessed and couldn't put down my books. So I ended up reading like all of my books pretty much in the last 2 weeks of March. So let's just get into it. The first book, I'm gonna go in order of when I read them, so first to last. The first book I read in March is Neon Gods by Kate Roberts. Yeah, Kate Robert. There's no S at the end. This is a Hades Persephone retelling, so I think we all know what these kind of books are like for the most part. You're not really reading this story for the plot line. It's a very spicy book. I actually really disliked this book. I've learned, like, right now I'm just really in the mood to read books that are like a little bit more plot line based, so I've been a little bit pickier about like the plot and everything that's going on in the books versus like other stuff. And this book, the plot was honestly just really bad. I liked the chemistry between Hades and Persephone, and this is like an urban fantasy pretty much. Like, this is based in like New York City pretty much. I literally think they call it New York City. My cat is playing with a cat toy. But it is like very intriguing how they go back and forth between like describing certain places, making it seem kind of like Olympus-y, but also at the same time like you're in New York City. And I actually enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought that was really cool. What I didn't like was the story was really just dragging and repetitive, and like it really felt like it was going nowhere. This isn't like one of the books where you're like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? I need to keep reading. Like, you don't really like sit down, you're not really like obsessing over what's happening next. It's not leaving you hanging or anything like that. I thought this was a series. It's not. It kind of is. This is like the Hades and Persephone, and then she has a bunch of other books based on different couplings. So she does have more in this series. If you like those Hades and Persephone retellings, I would check this one out. I would still recommend it. If you don't really care that much about the plot and you're really like caring more about the like romance aspect of it, I felt like this was pretty good. So, moving on. The next book I read was very surprising for me, and this is Daisy Jones and the Six. So this just came out as a TV show. I knew that I wanted to read the book before I watched the show. I'm still in the midst of watching the show. My opinion is mixed. I can't form my solid opinion until the end. But this book is about a girl named Daisy Jones, and she is an aspiring singer, and she joins a band called The Six, and they become Daisy Jones and the Six. This, I would say, read trigger warnings for it, for sure. It has a lot of like drug abuse and I think other things happen as well. So there's definitely a lot going on in this book. It's a heavier read in my opinion, but I loved the style that this was written. So it's written in an interview, so like you go back and forth between like the different characters as if they're like talking to someone, but it doesn't feel like flat. Like, it still feels like you're reading it like a story, which I really liked. The middle dragged a little bit for me. Like, it felt like it could have been a little bit shorter. Like, it didn't really need everything that happened in it, but the ending hooked me. The last like 75 pages, I could not put the book down. I was obsessed with it, and the story is just really good. The characters are super dynamic, and I just really liked the way that all of them interacted and the way the storyline played out. And I loved the ending. I cried. I don't even think I would say that it's necessarily sad. I talked about it a little bit in a vlog that I have not posted yet, and I will leave it at that. And my opinion's still undetermined on the TV show. Moving on, we're going through this quick. I have little amounts of things about some of these books, and then some of them I have lots of thoughts. So the next book we have going on is Speak by Lori Halsey Anderson. This is a book that I read in a vlog, which again I have not posted yet, so that will be up soon so you can hear more about this. So I'm not going to go crazy in depth. The story is essentially about a girl who something bad happened to her and her friends have like singled her out and won't talk to her anymore, and she's struggling to cope with the incident that happened to her. So you like slowly figure out pieces of like what happened, and then it all like comes together at the end. I really enjoyed this story. It's so short. Like, you could sit down and read this in one sitting. And again, very heavy topics. I would totally check out trigger warnings if this is something you're interested in. A lot of people have probably read this when they were younger. There is a movie out too with Kristen Stewart in it, and I really liked the movie. I actually watched the movie after I finished reading this, and I enjoyed it. So that's that for Speak. The next book I read, oh, this is a very exciting one, and this was Midnight Sun by, oh my gosh, did I really just forget? Stephenie Meyer, of course. It is Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer, which is Twilight retold in the perspective of Edward. I have these beautiful dust jackets that I love to show off any chance that I get, and this was so good. So this has been out for a while, and I have owned it for a while, but I never have like picked it up and actually read it. And I actually listened to this on audiobook, and the narrator, so good. I really liked the narrator, which I think guy narrators, it's a lot harder for me to actually enjoy them, because I feel like I just can't match the voice with the character. But the guy narrator for this book, so good. But it is really just like Twilight retold from Edward's perspective, but it doesn't, like, I feel like it doesn't feel the same, which I guess is the point. Like, it doesn't feel like you're reading the same story. You have the same, like, storyline, but you can see so much difference in perspective and stuff like that, and the way that things are viewed. And I love seeing, like, Edward viewed it as this, but, like, when you read it from Bella's perspective, it was like she saw it in, like, a completely different way. This reminded me so much of what I was lacking in the movies, is Bella's, like, just stubborn, hard-headed, like, argumentative self. Like, she's just a lot more timid in the movies, but I really love to see his perspective of, like, what he thought of Bella, and you get to see a little bit about the, like, chunks that are missing from Twilight when Edward's, like, not there, obviously. But so good. The nostalgia, obviously, is one of the biggest factors, but I think that it was just so funny seeing things from Edward's point of view, because he's just, like, so toxic. And as this, like, I love, like, some of the scenes, like, where, like, Bella walks into class for the first time and they see each other. Hearing his thoughts during that interaction, where she's just, like, chilling there and she's like, why does he think I smell bad? Why is he so mean? And he's, like, fighting his demons. He's like, I want to rip this girl to shreds, and she's just chilling there, like, so offended that she thinks he thinks she smells bad. I don't know if that made sense, but I love stuff like that. And, like, he is so judgmental, like, about everyone, which I think you can, like, gauge just from the fact of, like, who he is, and even just seeing him from other people's perspectives. But I would love to see some other books from his perspective. Come on, Stephenie Meyer. I know you're writing more books. Eclipse, don't need it. Give me, like, Breaking Dawn in Edward's point of view, and I would eat that up. Yes, please. Recommend. If you love the Twilight books and you have been intimidated by this because it is chunky and, you know, like, it's the same storyline as Twilight, check it out. I recommend the audiobook because it was really good. Okay. Next on the list, another book that's in the vlog that I did. This is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I'm not going to go too crazy into depth with this one either because my opinions are in that vlog. And this is about, it's like a dark fantasy, dark fairy tale about a girl whose mother goes missing, and she has to team up with someone and try to find her because she's been stolen away by the stories that her deceased grandmother wrote. So don't be deceived though, it's a little bit of it's set in New York City for pretty much the whole entire book except for, like, the very last, like, little bit of it. It's more of an urban fantasy. There is not a lot of magic in the beginning, and shocker, I didn't like it. I don't like this book. I don't think it's horrible. It's not the worst book that I've ever read, but I just didn't like the characters. I hated, like, just everything about them, pretty much. I hated the storylines for some of the characters. Like, I just felt like they were ruined, and I really disliked the ending. I thought, like, this story at the beginning had so much potential. I really loved it. And then, like, the second half, I was like, nah, whatever. I could care less. So I had to force myself to finish this book. I am, like, trying to give myself, like, the courage to start DNFing things and just, like, give it up. But I get such bad, like, FOMO of, like, what if it is actually an amazing book? And I miss out on all of that because I gave up on it. So maybe I need to, like, just ignore those thoughts and, you know, sometimes give up on the story. But the last and best book that I read in March, 5 stars, like, one of my favorite books of this year so far, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This was so good. This is, like, Cruel Prince vibes, no joke. Like, the main characters remind me so much of The Cruel Prince. Except for, I guess Emily does not remind me of, I can't even think of her name in The Cruel Prince. It's been so long since I've read the story. Jude. She doesn't really remind me of Jude, but the guy in this book reminds me so much of Carden, and I think he is just perfect. But he's way less, this is not like a bully romance or anything like that. This is like, they're not mean to each other or anything like that, like it is in The Cruel Prince, but... So this is about a girl named Emily Wilde, now that I've blabbed about my opinion on it. It's about a girl named Emily Wilde who is adventuring to a new part of the... I guess it's not a new part of the world. She's adventuring to a new part of the fairy world where she thinks that she is going to be discovering unresearched fairies. So she is a scholarly person, she's an academic, and she is writing a book about her research on fairies, and I'm going to stop holding this up now, and she goes to this little cottage where she stays to do her research, and her co-worker shows up who is very gorgeous and very annoying, and is a, like, everyone loves him, he is amazing, and she is very, like, not a people person, like, she's doesn't know how to socially interact with people, so they're polar opposites, and they end up working together for her research, and that's all I'm gonna say, but it is so good. The interactions between the characters is chef's kiss. Amazing. And, like, the way the characters are told, there was not a and it's not even that long either, it's really not a big book. I read this in one day. There is not a single part of this book where I was bored or just, like, felt like it was dragging. Like, this whole story had me enthralled. There's gonna be a second one, and I hope there's, like, a million more after that, because I love Emily Wilde, and I love, what's his name, because I can't remember it. What is his name? It's, like, Benjamin or something like that. I feel like that's totally wrong. Yeah, it doesn't even, oh, Wendell. Where did I get Benjamin from? His name is Wendell Bambleby. Bambleby. And I love him. I love him so much. Read this book. If you take anything away from this, read this book. 5 stars. A+. 10 out of 10. That is all of the books that I read in March. I am now going to go reread The Cruel Prince because Emily Wilde, you know, she just hyped me up. I need more. So I'm going to get into some Cruel Prince until I can get the next book in this series. So let me know what your favorite book was of March, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!